honest, I really give a lot of anthropological value to the work he's doing here. I wonder why, considering his reaction now. Hey noble ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking. So a few days ago I reacted to one of the videos by Tasting History with Max Miller, in fact probably one of his most popular videos, which is the one about where he recreated garum, of course, because I mean Rome and whatnot. Yeah, you get it. So I noticed that 9 days ago he made a video called Ancient Roman Cheesecake, which looks very interesting, but that's not what I want to review today. Today I want to review something a lot older that he made, which is this video, the strange flavor of Parthian chicken from ancient Rome. Holy moly, how did I not find this guy earlier? So, yeah, we're gonna check this out. Let's have a look. See if we can learn a thing or two from Max.
Who doesn't know the Roman frickin' Empire, am I right?
Am I right?
When it comes to branding, they're at the top. They're up there with Coke and Disney and McDonald's. So I think it's pretty big of them to have given credit when making today's recipe to a little bit lesser of an empire, someone that was not so much a household name, and a nemesis at that. Pullum particum, or Parthian chicken, is a classic Roman dish from the day.
Of course, for those who don't know, Parthia would be modern-day Iran, and I guess depending on what period and expansion we are focusing on, a little bit of Turkestan, but in general it's ancient Iran.
Coquinaria. So today that's what we're making, and it'll give us an opportunity to look at the Parthian Empire and see just why that empire got the credit for this dish. This time on Tasting History.
I hope it's a correct one and not like the Caesar salad, which has nothing to do with Julius Caesar.
Particum, Parthian chicken. Open the chicken at the rear end and in the square shape.
Right.
Pound pepper, lovage, a little caraway, moisten with liquamen, blend with wine. Put the chicken in an earthenware pot and pour the sauce over it. Dissolve strong asafoetida in lukewarm water. Pour it over the chicken and let it cook.
Let it cook.
Sprinkle with pepper and serve.
Oh, I love sprinkling
pepper. So is this
pepper.
chicken Roman or Parthian?
Yeah.
Well, it has a distinctly Roman ingredient, caraway seeds, which were grown in Central Europe at the time, but then it also has a distinctly Parthian ingredient, asafoetida, which came to Rome along the Silk Road from Parthia. Asafoetida, or asafoetida as it's sometimes called, is the extract of a plant of the same name that's grown in the mountainous regions of Iran and Afghanistan.
Yeah.
It was a very popular ingredient in ancient Rome, especially after its North African cousin, Silphium, went extinct.
Well, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, even if an ingredient is from outside the empire proper, although then again, it depends, because some territories were, of course, subdued, and then you would get their stuff, as what the Romans did. But at the end of the day, yeah, the Romans did have a lot of trade when it comes to spices of all sorts, that a lot of these spices were used, in fact, in their wines, because, yeah, spiced wine was a thing. So at the end of the day, and of course with their cuisine, food, even medicinal alleged properties that came from sort of faraway spices and whatnot are mentioned when it comes to Roman medicine, traditional medicines, and in the schools that they had. But let's see if it's an original Parthian recipe or not. I'm very curious.
And I would actually love to do an entire episode
Please.
just on Silphium, so if that's something you might like to see, let me know in the comments. So I've never actually tried asafoetida. I bought it just yesterday to make this recipe, and I undid the top, and I have to say, it lives up to its name, and so I'm a little trepidatious to actually eat it.
Yeah, I wonder where this guy gets all of these ingredients for all the special recipes that he tries. He must have like some local store or supplier that he knows.
Its name, asafoetida, comes from asa, meaning gum, and fetida, meaning fetid or stinking. And it stinks. It smells like an apartment that I had back in college where over the summer a cat died in the wall and nobody knew. And the apartment was in Arizona, so... Yeah.
So putrid, I would imagine. I think it is horrible. The stink of meat when it goes bad and maybe you forget about it. Oh gosh, it's terrible. So why would anyone try to use it to cook? That's something that I always fascinates me. We discussed this when we watched the video about garum, and I was like, who would purposely get fish and let it under the sun for months, like for 2 months, and get this, oh, everything is like putrid and disgusting looking, and you're like, yeah, I think I'm going to try and make a dressing out of that and consume it. I mean, who would try it? After it has become a tradition, I suppose, and you already know people don't die off it. I get it, but anything like this, someone must have tried it first.
Of course, it's going to be a popular ingredient in ancient Rome.
Of course.
And I can't wait to try it. Anyway, for this recipe, what you'll need is 1 chicken, 3 to 4 pounds, 1.5 teaspoons of pepper.
Love that.
Plus a little extra for garnish. 1 tablespoon of chopped lovage. So lovage might be a little hard to find. I actually got some because I had a viewer send it to me, freeze-dried from England. Very, very excited. Kind of smells like... smells a bit like celery, but a little more potent.
Oh, you know what? So, okay, he responded to us. Then some of the stuff he gets from viewers, man, I wouldn't trust it. I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't eat anything that anyone sends me. Because people are weird these days. But maybe it's a viewer that he knows, like someone that... Because, I mean, from a complete random stranger, I wouldn't do it.
So thank you to James, Etty, and Bodie for picking this wonderful lovage and sending it my way here to the States. I do have to warn you, after some research about lovage, I found out you're not supposed to eat it if you're pregnant or have kidney problems. So,
really?
You know, maybe stick with celery if you want.
Sure.
Or if you can't find lovage. 1.5 teaspoons of caraway seeds, 3 tablespoons of liquamen. Now
I hate liquamen. Even the word liquamen makes me feel like, ugh.
That is garum, which I'm sure many people found my channel from when I discussed garum. It's that ancient Roman fermented fish sauce.
Yeah.
So I'm actually using colatura di alici, which is a
the Italian one,
fermented fish sauce, rather than my quick garum. Colatura di alici.
I appreciate you pronounced it right. Colatura di alici. That's correct. Because people that don't know Italian usually will read it alici. So I appreciate that. Alici. Nice. Thank you, Max.
I made in that episode. This is going to have a little bit more of the umami flavor that you're going to get. You can also use just a regular Eastern Asian fish sauce as well. 1 cup or 250 milliliters of wine.
Right.
You can use red, you can use white.
You can drink it.
It doesn't matter, it's up to you. 3/4 of a teaspoon of asafoetida
I think
powder.
the way he said it makes me feel like this guy has been attacked online because he drank or used a white wine, when some of those people that are like, no, you can only drink white with this and red with that. That's what that sounds like. What is that? Oh yeah, that stuff.
Now, if you can find the actual root, good for you, but most people are going to find this in a powder. If it's yellow, there's more turmeric in it, so you might want to use a little bit more, maybe like a full teaspoon. If it's brown, then there's less turmeric in it, so just stick with that 3/4 teaspoon.
I love that he gives all of these, like, all of this advice for people that are actually going to try it. Of course I'm not, but I'm just interested in the historical aspect of it.
And 1/4 cup lukewarm water.
Water, I got that.
So first we have to prepare the chicken. And the translation, I found many translations, and none of them really agree on what it's saying there in that first sentence. I kind of read it as, you know, cut open and then set like a square, which makes me think of like a butterfly or a spatchcock chicken. And I kind of love that word, spatchcocked. So that's what I'm going to be doing, but you can go ahead and truss it or cut it up. You can do whatever you want, but just know that the cooking times that I'm giving today are for a spatchcocked chicken.
I haven't got a clue what a spatchcocked chicken is, but it's interesting when it comes to translation. That's why I usually like the fact that that's a channel, because of all the members of the team. We don't need to rely on other people's translations. We use them sometimes to compare with ours, but it's really nice to be able to, as a team, and I have to say thank you to all the members of my team that help out with this, because when you can read the sources in the original language, like even if I'm reading a manuscript in medieval Italian and I can read it, it is so much better not to have to rely on other people's translations, because they could be wrong, or they could be just one of many possible interpretations, and it's not necessarily that that's the correct one. So it's nice to have access. So if you have a problem, you're not sure about the translation, I see that you tried to look for several possible translations. I can provide a couple of experts if you need them. both for ancient Greek and Latin.
So if you are going to spatchcock your chicken, make sure to clean it out and then with kitchen shears, cut out the spine. Then flip it back over and crack the breastbone.
Okay, rather than this part, I'm interested in the actual... Okay, there we go.
Long and rather complex history of the Parthian Empire and how they came to be, but it is pretty impressive. Essentially, Alexander the Great had this huge empire that stretched from Europe to India, and then when he died, it broke up into smaller warring factions. You had the Greco-Bactrians, you had the Seleucids, and then over here you had ancient Rome, which was starting to grow and kind of come in as well. And here, these little people called the Parni kind of squeeze into the table and are like, okay, all right, okay. And finally, all right, we've quickly taken over all of Iran, Iraq, and parts of the Caucasus and Syria. It was really, really pretty impressive. And what they were famous for at this point was something called the Parthian shot. And that's when the archers, during a feigned retreat, or maybe a real retreat, on horseback, would turn around and shoot at their enemies who were coming at them. And
there are several civilizations that use that sort of tactic. In general, the idea of mounted archery, or even the fake retreat, was used by the Mongols. It was one of the things they were famous for. Of course, the Japanese famously have got mounted archery as well. But he's correct. I mean, there are several populations. I might make a video about it, but just to add something interesting, I do believe that, for example, one of the reasons why the ancient Romans actually created lorica segmentata was specifically to counter arrow shots from some of these populations that they met, particularly in the east, including Scythians and others that were very reliant on projectiles as well as cavalry. I might expand on a dedicated video.
It's actually where we get the phrase parting shot. So that's kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
But as cool as etymology is, what we're going to be discussing today is what they were famous for later on, when they kind of settled down, stopped trying to impress everyone, and realized that what they were good at was business and being the middleman of the Silk Road. Starting around 90 AD, the Silk Road ran from northern China, uninterrupted, all the way to Rome, and it was controlled by just 4 states.
Could you imagine that? That is an incredible expanse of territory. Imagine all of the different cultures and people and the way they looked, and even phenotypic traits, of course, that you would run into as you move, and the customs. Wouldn't it be nice to traverse even today to have an idea? I know this would be a monumental task. To be honest, even with modern transportation, even with modern means of transport. Imagine on horseback or on foot. Crazy.
Now, most of the goods being traded were coming from either China on one side or Rome on the other side. They were the 2 big players, but in the middle, you had these 2 smaller empires. You had the Kushan Kingdom. They had lots of spices to trade, and they actually had a lot of the links to the even further southeast, like Indonesia and whatnot. Is that Parthia was exporting asafoetida. So, you know, they did something right. Anyway, I think it's time to say a toast to the middlemen and get back to our chicken.
I see. So basically the idea is very nice explanation. I skipped through it a lot. So of course, do go watch the original video if you want the full explanation. I will leave a link in the description below. So basically they used a foreign spice, and then they dress, I guess, the chicken with something special, and then they would give it the name. I imagine that's what I'm understanding from this.
So at about 40 minutes into baking, go ahead and check the breast with an instant read thermometer to see if it's hit
we have that. We have the exact same.
Fahrenheit. If it hasn't, leave it in for a few minutes more. Then make sure to let the chicken rest for about 10 minutes before carving it up. And here we are.
Oh.
Parthian chicken.
Looks good.
You want to make sure to pour some sauce on there and sprinkle with pepper. Now I'm going to slice right into the whole chicken because my chicken carving skills are lackluster at best, and I don't want to embarrass myself all over the internet, so I'm going to just cut into the whole thing. It smells wonderful.
Huh.
Doesn't smell at all like the asafoetida did.
I wonder if that is because of the cooking. I imagine after you cook it or you bake it, should I say, maybe mixing it with all the other ingredients, it has removed. There might be, of course, a difference in the chemical composition when it comes to that. That actually removed the smell. Very interesting. Makes sense.
At all.
Huh. So let's see if he likes it. I think he likes it. Yeah.
Okay, so it's amazing,
Oh, good. Amazing.
but I don't know what I'm tasting. I don't know what I'm tasting.
Oh, that's fascinating.
It's so foreign to me.
And to the Romans.
I don't know if it's the asafoetida or if it's the garum,
Could be.
but it's wonderful. I can see why this ingredient or whatever is making this flavor came from so far. And
You know, this is fascinating what he's doing here. And to be honest, I really give a lot of anthropological value to the work he's doing here. I wonder why, considering his reaction now. Like, he's not saying, oh, it's good. No, he's saying it's amazing. This guy really, really liked it. So I wonder why in Italy we didn't keep this recipe that I know of. Now, of course, one thing that we have to say when it comes to Italian cuisine is that oftentimes when you look at Italian cuisine from a foreign perspective, as an American, an English, wherever you're from, people will think there is only one single Italian cuisine. They make pizza, they make pasta, but it's not that simple. Every region in Italy is very specific and very different. Yes, we have common things. You'll eat a good dish with spaghetti everywhere in Italy, of course. Pizza will vary a lot, though. And even the way you make the sauces, the type of food we eat, the type of cold cuts, a lot of the, I want to say, desserts, they change tremendously. The way we make focaccia bread changes tremendously. So depending on where you go, sausages are cooked in very different ways depending on where you go. The meat as well. So of course I haven't tried every single way to eat chicken in the entirety of the country, but as someone who was clearly brought up in Italy, I've never seen anything like that. I've seen, of course, oven-baked chicken with potatoes. That's the typical way to make it these days, or rotisserie chicken, if you will, just like in lots of other countries, of course. I have never seen anything like this, particularly with garum or with any form of colatura di alici, but that could be because I didn't experience it. And of course, my personal experience is mostly Southern cuisine, so Sicilian, Mediterranean is my basis. It's what I was brought up with. I've spent a few years in Naples for university, so of course I'm very familiar with Neapolitan cuisine. And then I've been to Milan many times, been to Rome, so I'm sort of familiar with that type of cuisine, but not everything they make. In fact, if you are from Italy and you want to kind of correct me with this, and you're like, no, because in our region, in freaking whatever, Abruzzo, oh no, we do eat this with colatura di alici, then I'm like, okay, cool, because that would be something interesting. But still, even if there is one single small little town somewhere in Italy that still makes something similar to this, then, or maybe even in Rome, but it's still not a nationally famous dish, to the point that someone who is Italian and was brought up in Italy and spent many years in Italy, of course, I want to say, well, majority of my life, has never heard of anything like this. So it would still not be a major dish, if you will. And my question is, if it's so amazing, I wonder why. I wonder why. That would be something fun to ask. Anyways, thank you so much, Max. Anyone who is interested in this sort of dishes, particularly the ones that are connected to history and the history of our beloved Roman Empire, absolutely go check him out. Subscribe as always, and you'll find all sorts of links in the description. But for today, thank you so much, noble ones, for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.